up, so.
I'm sure you probably with him today, I assume.
What's that?
You were with him today, I assume.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, something come up or what, I don't know. Barely keep track of myself, Chauncey.
Understood.
But we might as well go ahead and get started. It's 7 o'clock on August the 19th, and we're going to call to order the regular meeting for the RICO Board of Trustees. First up is roll call. Trustees present: Greg Anderson, Crystal Hibbard, Tom Clark, Darius Willis, and myself, Pat Fallon. And we're on to the approval of the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We don't have anybody on Zoom, right?
Good.
Next up is the approval of the minutes, 2 sets. We have last month's regular meeting as well as a work session we did regarding the sanitary sewer 30% review.
Craig, I didn't recall you being on Zoom, was that?
I was here.
Okay,
Yeah, that's the only comment I had.
that was the only comment I have on both sets of minutes.
I thought just one of them had me on Zoom, but maybe they both did.
I think it was the work session.
Yeah, the 22nd.
I'll move to approve the minutes of the previous 2 meetings.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
You see that, right, Chauncey?
Anna? Got it.
Just mark it out when you sign it.
Payment of the bills.
The only unusual check you'll see there is the Dolores County Road and Bridge. That's the payment for the mic chloride and the grading. I think all the rest are fairly standard, but I'm happy to answer any questions about those.
The roads are very nice.
Especially right now, perfect amount of moisture.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to what Earth Art Engineering was, what company is that?
They're the soil management contractor for the town.
And then Ferguson Waterwork, is that for parts?
Yeah, it's pure water.
Yeah.
Supply.
I move that we approve the payment of the bills.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, it's here. Next up is public comment for non-agendized items only. If anybody has non-agendized items they'd like to comment on, we have no spectators on Zoom either, right?
Yes.
I got one. Hey, can you tell us, where's the MOU from RTA?
That's
They said it would be in front of us 4+ months ago.
They did. There was some material that they weren't able to provide until last week. So it's anticipated to be coming, or to be presented at the September meeting.
Perfect.
Any other public comment? Gone. Action items. First is consideration of second reading of ordinance 2026-04, an ordinance of the town of Rico, Colorado, repealing ordinance number 131 concerning offenders and offenses in the nature of misdemeanors and fixing a penalty for violations thereof. We went over all this last month. And we're on the second reading. More discussion? Public comment?
I can make a motion if you'd like, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, please.
I move to approve the second reading of ordinance 2026-04, an ordinance of the town of Rico, Colorado, repealing ordinance number 131 concerning offenders and offenses in the nature of misdemeanors and fixing a penalty for violations thereof.
I'll second. Greg, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ben? Yes. Crystal?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Garish?
Aye.
Aye. Next up, consideration of second reading ordinance 2026-05, an ordinance of the Town of Rico, Colorado, repealing ordinance number 271, providing for the supply, maintenance, and operation of municipality-owned equipment to private individuals for private purposes and to govern and regulate the use thereof.
I'll make a motion.
Let's hear, we got public comment.
Okay, sorry.
I don't anticipate it, but better make sure. Anybody?
Good catch there, Pat.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Garish.
I don't want to read it anymore.
All right, somebody move it.
I move to approve the second reading of ordinance 2026-05, an ordinance of the Town of Rico, Colorado, repealing ordinance number 271, providing for the supply, maintenance, and operation of municipality-owned equipment to private individuals for private purposes and to govern and regulate the use thereof.
Seconds. Greg, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ben? Yes. Crystal?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Garish?
Aye.
Aye. Consideration of second reading, ordinance 2026-06, an ordinance of the Town of Rico, Colorado, repealing ordinance number 278, concerning the qualifications and duties of the mayor of the Town of Rico. Board discussion, public comment, motions.
I'll read another one. I move to approve the second reading of ordinance 2026-06, an ordinance of the Town of Rico, Colorado, repealing ordinance number 278, concerning the qualifications and duties of the mayor of the Town of Rico, Colorado.
I'll second that.
Greg, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ben? Yes. Crystal?
Yes.
Tom?
Yep.
Garish?
Aye.
Aye. Consideration of second reading of ordinance 2026-07, an ordinance of the Town of Rico, Colorado, repealing ordinance number 1999-2, establishing the duties of the town manager. Board discussion, public comment. Who's reading this one?
I move to approve the second reading ordinance 2026-07, an ordinance of the Town of Rico, Colorado, repealing ordinance number 1999-2, establishing the duties of the town manager.
I'll second.
Greg, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ben? Yes. Crystal?
Yes.
Tom?
Yep.
Garish?
Aye.
Aye. Consideration of second reading of ordinance 2026-08, an ordinance of the Town of Rico, Colorado, repealing ordinance 2001-5, amending dog licenses fees. And that's it. Board discussion. Public comment.
I'll go for this one. I make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 2026-08, an ordinance of the Town of Rico, Colorado, repealing ordinance number 2001-5, amending dog license fees.
I'll second that.
Greg?
Aye.
Ben?
Yep.
Crystal?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Garish?
Aye.
Aye. One more. Consideration of second reading of ordinance 2026-09, an ordinance of the Town of Rico, Colorado, repealing ordinance 2006-1, authorizing participation in the North Rico Nonprofit Corporation. Board discussion. Public comment.
I can read
I
another
was
one.
gonna say, is it my turn? I just read it.
I move to approve the second reading of ordinance 2026-09, an ordinance of the Town of Rico, Colorado, repealing ordinance number 2006-1, authorizing participation in the North Rico Nonprofit Corporation.
I'll second.
Greg?
Aye.
Ben? Yes. Crystal?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Garish?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we got all that out of the way. Next up is consideration of a letter of support for the Rico Land Collaborative C3 mini grant application for the Rico recycling pilot. We've all got a letter in our packet. So that's, I'm not supposed to touch. Would you guys like to come up, brief us on anything before?
Skip's gonna make me do this on my own. Hello, my name's Monique DeGiorgio. I'm a board member of the RICO Land Collaborative and just wanted to thank you for considering this letter of support today and just give you a quick summary of who we are and what this letter of support in the project would do in partnership with the town to bring recycling to the community. So the RICO Land Collaborative was formed in 2020 and we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We work to protect and steward the lands around RICO in alignment with community values. You probably know about Skip's work to do the annual trash cleanup, the geothermal initiative, and now this recycling pilot. What this letter of support does is not only help us get a grant application, but really form a partnership with the Land Collaborative and help us navigate the extended producer responsibility program, which should bring free recycling to our community. What I will say, it's a very complicated program, and I just happen to know the ins and outs of it because I own a compost business in Durango. And so we're willing to kind of help the town navigate this so that we can take advantage of these funds and really build a program that makes sense for the town. So please use me and the Land Collaborative as an expert and help and staff capacity in partnership with Chauncey. And if you have any questions, we can answer those.
Question?
What is C3?
Yeah, okay, so that is the Colorado Circularity Center. It was enabled by legislation a couple of years ago by the Recycle Colorado Board, and what it does is set up a state circularity center that supports businesses that basically have a circular economy, so things like recycling and use of a product like plastics that are recycled. And the C3 program has a grant arm. That's actually, so it's a state initiative, but it's run by a board of like composters and recyclers and other businesses. And I was just at one of their meetings actually last week with my Table to Farm compost hat on, and they awarded like $3 million in grants. So the town of RICO should be getting funding from this program to help with our efforts. I think we have a good chance, but we just have to go through the process.
Thank you.
So the purpose of your grant request is basically for education on recycling, to educate the community on proper recycling or how it might?
Yeah, so what it would do is give us some capacity to basically navigate this pretty complicated environment of extended producer responsibility. The first thing that we would do is work with Chauncey and the town on finding out people's recycling habits. How do they want to recycle? Would they like curbside? Would they like a drop-off? Would they like both? What types of things would they like to recycle? And then once we understand that, we can actually work through the application process of the extended producer responsibility. It's a series of requests for basically interest, and then you submit your reimbursement request. So what it'll do is give us the capacity to like navigate that program and bring funding to the community. It's not a grant program. It's basically funded by producers like Coca-Cola and Ball, and it pays for every single resident in the state of Colorado to have free recycling. We just have to understand like the bureaucracy and how it works and bring the funding to our community. But it's there. It's new. No, as of right now, nobody has actually received funds. It's like 4 years of getting the whole thing set up, and they're just entering into these like agreements for funding. So it's a very new program.
Realistically, it's money that we all spent buying things that come in packages
Yes.
we didn't want.
Yeah, because what it says is like, it's not up to you as a citizen to have the onus of recycling. It's really up to the producers to pay for us to be able to recycle, which is kind of a cool thing. The state of Colorado passed that legislation. There's really only 5 other states, or a handful of states that do it.
Surely, you think the producers pass that tax on to us with a markup, more than likely?
Well, that's what people say happens, but, you know, I don't know. There's a contingency that says that that didn't happen.
Yeah, no, that's here nor there.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
I guess the letter of support seemed like it was for your grant. I didn't see anything or hear anything about any kind of partnership obligations of the town or anything like that. I know
That's
you
kind of
just-
why I wanted to comment, because the grant really opens the door for us to work together, and I just want to make sure if we get the grant that yeah, we feel comfortable with the partnership.
Yeah, I mean, that would need to be a whole other conversation, right? I mean,
No, I mean, well, maybe Chauncey can speak to it. I mean, the grant, grant and the summary and the partnership, if we receive the funding, is all part of the same work. But it doesn't require anything from the town. It's just kind of acknowledging the Rico Land Collaborative as a partner to basically do the work. But yeah, if you have additional questions, we can.
Well, these state funds, this legislation and the program and the bureaucracy that you're talking about, they're only going to fund a recycling program through the town, and that's why we need to be partners?
No?
And, yeah, it could be a third-party hauler, there's all kinds of options, that's why we need to kind of talk about it. What it does is allow us to figure it out together, basically.
Right.
That's what you'd be approving.
I just always leery of partnerships without outlining any of those details. I mean, everybody would like to be town's partner. So, I mean, I wasn't really a question, I was kind of saying that needs to be a whole nother conversation, regardless if we grant your letter of support. It shouldn't insinuate that we have entered into a partnership. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about that, I don't have anything.
I don't think the wording of
To
this
my
letter insinuates that
No,
in
no.
any way.
It doesn't at all, that's why I was confused when he said, now we're partners. It's just, alarms go off, it's nothing personal, that goes for everybody.
Can you help us better understand, because I do want to make sure, I mean, if we get the grant, then we could sit down and talk about that, I guess, and define what that looks like. Can you help me understand what next steps we would need to do?
Right, yeah, so that's kind of what I was saying, so if you guys move forward with this, then it would be proper for us to have some kind of proposal, a request for us to be involved, so.
Or like an
Yes.
MOU or some kind of documentation of the expectations of what that means to be a partner
I
in
got
this
you.
program,
Yeah,
or
that
with the
makes
Rico
sense.
Land Collaborative. Something that we've gone through with other organizations, so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But no, I think assuming that approval of this letter equals a partnership is probably
It's a
it.
stretch, so, okay, that's helpful. I want to make sure I understand what the letter actually means, and it helps us receive the funds. If we receive the funds, I think there's a conversation then to be had. If we don't receive the funds, I'd still like to have the conversation about what we can do to work together to bring recycling to the community. When I use the word partnership, I guess it's an understanding that we have limited staff and that there's kind of a history of nonprofits working with the town to just help increase capacity. That's really all that I meant. Which seems like something we support since we have limited staff. So maybe Chauncey can speak to that. We're not trying to add anything to Chauncey's, work plan. But there's free recycling and the whole town can, receive it. So I don't think that's something that we necessarily want to put back on the town, so we're stepping up to help.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else for Monique? Come on up, Skip.
I remind myself and the board and Rico in general that when the Planning and Zoning Commission put together with your approval questions for a survey of this town and the master plan, one of the questions was, should local organizations be involved in these sort of decision-making processes or be involved with a consideration towards them, that the nonprofits, the organizations within this town outside of this organization were a valuable asset to the town. I'm putting words in my mouth and probably yours, but the important thing was that in the survey question, Rico Land Collaborative is trying to do that very thing, not asking for commitments, just asking for a voice in the future. That I think we'll see what the survey comes up with in terms of the town and such and so forth. That's certainly a part of this. I hope all of us agree that recycling is probably an important aspect to all of us living here, and generally speaking. Thanks.
So I'd just like to clarify where I was heading. You know, certainly not opposition to what you're trying to do. I don't think any of us have really been totally informed on what you're trying to do. We
That's
come to
our-
these meetings with information to make a decision. Our question in front of us was to grant a letter of support for your organization to get funding. So without any more details, is kind of why I was saying, you know, if there's more to it than that, then we need to sit down and talk and hear about it.
Of course.
We can get it on paper so we know what we're
Of
talking
course.
about, that's all.
I am not suggesting that by default, because of this request, the town board or the town jumps on top of this. Just that this is the next logical step for us in moving this forward. We get the letter of support. It helps us move the grant process forward. Once we get some money, then we come back to this group with something concrete in terms of an MOU or however you all decide this might fit best for the town, and we go from there. No, I'm not looking for a dedication on the part of the board to this.
No, I'm not saying that wouldn't happen, I just said we can't possibly do that without even knowing the theory of it yet.
And we're not asking you to.
Okay, no, we get it. And do you know, I've heard rumors that Waste Management is about to start providing curbside recycling.
That's supposedly in the works. Monique could probably speak better to that than I in terms of the details, but yes.
That's regarding
They
this
hop-
item, I think.
That organization hopped on board because there's money involved for the bottom line for Waste Management. They get some money for this.
Yeah. My money.
I think the last
Your
time I
money.
checked, we were talking capitalism here.
Yeah, no,
But yes, that's the
makes the
possibility.
world go round. All right, thank you.
And you all. Go for it.
Yeah.
Come on up, Elena.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and everyone. I'm Joanna Yonder, and I'm also on the planning and zoning with Skip, and I will say this is a topic that has come up, recycling specifically, multiple times as something that is of use and interest to our community. And I think it's one of my favorite things about living in a small mountain town, that we do a lot with a little. And I think one of the ways that we do that is obviously having amazing staff like Anna and Chauncey and Mayor Pat, all the rest of the board of trustees who work really hard to make things happen. I also think another way that that can happen is when citizens who have really special skill sets bring those to the table and say, how can we help with these? So I just wanted to say I'm really appreciative of that. I think in this opportunity, someone with a ton of expertise can help with collaboration to help us go above and beyond what we could do as individuals to connect to a much higher funding stream and opportunity stream and answer a question that a lot of people have had on their minds lately. So that's all. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you all.
Board discussion, any more questions?
I commend them for trying. This will be what, the fourth one since I got here?
Well, that's why I wasn't clear, because it seemed like it was reduced from actually a recycling thing to just educating people about recycling, is what maybe I misread it.
I recall the organization, there's a nonprofit that is just supposed to be doing outreach in Colorado to like answer questions about this exact program. And I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but they had a booth at CML. I don't know if you recall going by that, but, so it's not the first I've heard of it, certainly, and I think it's a great fit for RICO since that is a gap
No, I agree.
services, so.
I mean, I can agree to the theory of it, like they said. I guess I'm going here in the letter, it says provide education and outreach to local residents, develop opportunities to increase. It didn't seem like we were as far as a recycling program, but I think I get it, and we'll have more discussions later, but if there's no more discussion or questions, comments, then somebody can wrap it up.
I move to approve the letter of support for the RICO Land Collaborative C3 mini grant application for the RICO recycling pilot.
I'll second it.
All right, Greg?
Yes.
Ben? Yes. Crystal?
Yes.
Tom?
Yep.
Garish?
Yes.
Aye. All right.
Thank you.
good. So, we're already at the end of the meeting.
Kind of.
Greg, is there anything for SMART we need to know?
They added a second bus schedule, I think you guys saw the email.
I
So
did
there's
not.
2 buses now running. I can't remember the time, it's
I'll-
in Carrie's email.
I can tell everyone just to help with that. So they expanded service, which is the same bus, just doing 2 trips, which means there's an earlier return back to Rico. So the first bus will leave, depart Rico at 7, and the second bus departs Rico at 8:40. That means the first one arrives at 7:45, which I think is the normal time frame, and then the second run arrives at 9:25. Since that 8:40 departure from Rico requires a bus to come back from Telluride, you can now get a ride from Telluride to Rico at 7:55 in the morning, coming southbound. And then in the evening, they're doing a afternoon Telluride to Rico, a 3:30 and a 5:15. So you can also leave Rico in the afternoon with that bus at 4:25 and get to Telluride at 5:10 if you're going over for the evening.
At 4:25. So at least tell you're at 3:30
It gets here, it goes back to Telluride. So,
at 4:25.
yeah, leaves at.
Just curious why that's a 55-minute one-way turnaround and they have a 65-minute two-way turnaround.
I think 55 is the turnaround.
In the morning, what'd you say, 7
and 8:40,
Oh, okay, 8:40, got it.
and then you can get to, back to Rico at 4:15 and 6 p.m. now with that schedule, so don't stay in Telluride after 5:15, you're gonna turn into a pumpkin.
Turn into something. Well, that's good, great. The kids can go to school late and still get a ride.
They have another option.
Does school get out at 3:30, or when does school normally get out?
3:05,
3:05, okay.
3:15.
Yeah, it seems like a lot better option for the younger ones than hanging out
There was a
at
long
the
gap
block
there.
until 5 p.m.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm curious. I don't think they want to come home sometimes. All right, anybody like to know about SMART more? Greg, thank you.
Oh, man. What are we gonna do without David Averill?
I don't know,
I'm a nice guy.
he's been here for a while, so he doesn't know what he's gonna do either. The director of SMART gave
Dave?
it
You retiring?
not retiring, just doing something else,
Just leaving them SMART.
just leaving SMART.
I'm sure there's no shortage of directors, right?
I think it got very political very quickly, and I'm not sure that's what he signed up for or wanted to be involved in.
Gotcha.
Long
We'll talk
story
about
short,
that later. Anna, would you like to provide us with the clerk's report?
Absolutely. Fun things first. The church has been super active. If you have linked the town calendar with your calendar, you can see all the activities that go on any town property that are open to the public. There's yoga Tuesday, Thursdays with Eliza. The RTA is doing yoga on Saturdays. Aaron's doing another sound healing on the 27th. The Rico Historical Society is going to do their bingo over there. So the church is being used. Chauncey will have more on that later. The pantry has also been great. This last 2 weeks ago, we got the first really good supply of produce from it's a Mankus farm, the Mankus farm that is supplying produce to all local food banks or distributors or however, whatever, they're all called something different. This last time we got 2 flats of tomatoes and probably 50 pounds of carrots and beets and garlic, and so there's all sorts of great things. Spread the word. Tuesday, Wednesday, 2 to 3, 2 to 4 is when the pantry's open, but if somebody can't make it during that time, they can come anytime I'm in the office. That's just the time I'm guaranteed here. Folks can shop once a week, and the produce side and most of the pantry is not income-based. Anybody can come grab stuff. Just wanted to do another plug. I've been helping Public Works just administratively with the water crossing, helping put out some notices and getting things ordered and things like that. And I went and did the playground inspection certification with CIRSA, our insurance company. It was really great, really informative, so that was great, and I hope to attend more CIRSA-led trainings. And then I also want to give an election update. We still have 0 interest. We have no nomination petitions out there, so none have come back, of course. Alternatively to the nominations, if we don't get any by the 24th, somebody could write an affidavit of interest to be a write-in candidate through the 28th of August, so it extends it by a few more days. That's what I have. And my regular things, you know, lodging tax, that kind of year.
Very good. Questions for Anna? Compliments?
Oh, great job, Anna.
If we don't have any folks that submit a petition or affidavit of interest, are we going to be having a town election? That's the only thing on the ballot, correct?
Even if 2 people put in petitions, we wouldn't have an election. It's just going to be,
By default.
we wouldn't need to waste time on an election because it's uncontested, so.
I just was confirming there was no other.
I
didn't think so,
It would be
but-
canceled. If somebody were to pick up, or 3 people were to pick up petitions and get them back to me on Monday, we would definitely have an election, because it would be 2 more than the seats we have. We have 2 seats currently available. If nobody, or even just 1 or 2 people bring back a complete petition, then we still would not have an election,
Okay,
as it's uncontested and the seats are the same length.
understood. Thank you for that clarification.
All right. Chauncey?
One was about the RTA agreement, but we'll see that next month. Just wanted to give an update. I'll just do the water line install. It's tied in on the River Street side. There is a service outage, so the folks on the River Street Argentine neighborhood don't have water today until end of day tomorrow, first thing Friday morning. That's allowed for a 24-hour hold period in the pipe for contact time for a higher chlorine solution for disinfecting, and then a back-tease sample to be able to make sure the water's clean. We've communicated with that, so no issues there. The only other side or work to be done that'll happen starting tomorrow is the tie-in on the west side. So that's just running back up the hill to the Piedmont neighborhood and making that connection. That side will do the disinfecting and holding contact time, but there's no services between those, so that won't create any additional outages. Additionally, the project has been going really smoothly. No concerns through the river. Permits are all, Army Corps and CDPHE discharge permit are all closed out, so no issues with the regulatory side of things. And one thing that was really beneficial in this project, because the work was pretty straightforward, we have a section of pipe from the River Street over to the Argentine neighborhood that was really questionable. It had, probably the best way to describe it is almost a drop structure, 290 degrees that were tied in to get to a right depth, that were concreted into an old piece of white pipe, which isn't really what we want to have in our water system. Brian was saying he was so far ahead that he was able to dig at that section out of the pipe. It wasn't in the contract, but it didn't affect the total price of the work. We're still not going above on that change order. We just had to buy a couple extra supplies for that. It's 140 feet of pipe, probably the next most catastrophic section of water line besides the river crossing. So we took that opportunity to do that as well too, and it allowed us to install an additional valve, so now we can isolate the Argentine neighborhood better, and we have more control in that area. We have future work to do, but that's been a really great project. The guys have been working hard. Brian's crew's been excellent, and the property owners down there have been really easy to work with, so super happy on the outcome of that. We should be
Clarify the Argentine neighborhood for me, please?
totally. So essentially the water line, I think in 2016 or somewhere thereabout, the town received funding to do a bunch of water line replacements. So that was when a bunch of C900 was put in, and they went under Silver Creek. So that water line came in and tied into the existing water line. The problem when they came in with that is the water main to Argentine actually comes through an easement on the Cummings property. There's a 10-foot wide easement to a hydrant that's across from the Davis's property. That pipe was put in, it's probably about 14 feet deep. It's probably 6 to 8 feet when it was first installed, and then whoever owned the property down there over the years brought in fill. And so when they put in these new water lines in 2016, they were on top of it, and they couldn't get the depth right. So what they did is they set up two 90-degree elbows, which is something we try to avoid just because of water hammer and thrust and all these things, and they just flow filled around it to hold it into place. And then that tied into this old plastic pipe that's no longer used or approved in water to be used. There's no health violations or concerns. And so that area is just a high concern on some issues, whether it's someone hits or there's a bump or something happens, a water hammer situation, it blows up a fitting that's encased in concrete, or that pipe itself, it doesn't have a track record like a C900 PVC pipe would. We don't really know the lifespan. It's not a used material anymore. So we took this opportunity to be able to replace that to the hydrant. There's a couple feet of the older pipe still that we're tying into, making the connection to the hydrant, instead of going to some sort of flange to MJ or something, because there were just concerns on that. And then that was then dig down to the Argentine line. So now we'll have new water main servicing Argentine, and then that ties into better pipe as well.
Did that answer your question?
No, where's the Argentine neighbor?
Oh,
I'm glad I got expanded.
sorry, I did not, that was a
No, it's
long-winded
fine.
explanation for no reason. The Argentine neighborhood is just North Argentine, so it's everything, that water line, it's a dead end, it goes from the Frandos up to about past the Hagans ever so slightly.
Davis's, Mark Allen, Hayden.
Understood.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
No,
I
it's no
didn't
problem.
want
I'm
to-
actually glad I got all that.
Description of why we made the decision to
But I was trying to
continue with the
picture
work.
where it was, and I was like, still.
I was wondering if I misunderstood the question.
Yeah, I just, woo, right over the top on that one, sorry.
No, it's good. Thank you for the elaboration.
Carry on.
All right, so that's all really awesome. It's been one of the better projects we've had for water. Rico Days, I know Anna mentioned it, I know people have been up to speed, you probably have seen the flyers. The town's helping support that event just by making the church available for Pastor Bailey. Pat Bailey's gonna say some words about labor, I guess, non-denominational, non-religious type thing. There's gonna be bingo, and then there's gonna be a community picnic in the park. So it starts at 10, the service, 11 is the bingo, and then noon to 4 in the park. They're gonna have community picnic, I think old timer storytelling, some music, other events going on, maybe some horse rides for the kids, supposedly.
I didn't see that on the flyer.
I think it's on Labor Day weekend, right?
It's gonna be Sunday of Labor
Sunday,
Day.
okay.
Yeah.
The Rico Center is also, a contributor, I guess.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be good, we'll see how it goes. I know I said this last 2 months, but we do have our district meeting on the 29th of September for CML. It's Tuesday night, please come join us, we'll be catering. Donzel will be up here along with some other folks, and we've had some registration. It's we're District 9, so it's like us, Dolores, Cortez, Mancus, Ignacio, Bayfield, Pagosa, Durango, and we just give kind of round robin updates on what's going on. CML usually has representatives there doing legislative updates and giving us information on a statewide level that affects our municipalities, and it's a great time, food, drink, and just kind of sharing amongst communities. Mayor and myself have been to a few of them, they're really enjoyable, excited to show people a good time up here. I did get enough green lights to submit our GoCo grant for that Civilian Conservation Corps. We did walk, Lisa, their director, and I met, and we walked the site and looked at just land ownership was the big thing, to make sure it has to be on public lands or lands that we hold an easement on, and where the intake structure is straddled by land owned by Outlook and then land owned by the National Forest. So it was kind of reducing scope and scale to do the national forest area within a certain distance of the source water for Silver Creek to just help with effects. We did notice when we've been up there a few times, Dylan and Dennis as well, there were some debris flows up there, so the existing pond and intake is pretty much an island now. It's all silted in. You guys have probably seen other debris flows on some of the tailing piles by that outlook and areas like that. So that will just affect how that project moves forward when we decide to reactivate it and what that looks like for engineering and whatnot. In the same conversation of source water protection, Colorado Rural Water Association does source water protection plans. So we have an ordinance in place about source water adopted in the 2000s, but these source water protection plans are much more so like best management practices. They come out, Colorado Rural Water gets funding through the state, so pretty much at no cost to the town, besides some in-kind going out to the sites and maybe some public meetings. They come and review these areas and give us available best management practices for protecting source water. So from as simple as putting a fence around the well and the well building to forest health and debris flow mitigation at the source water or at the surface water, those will all come into plan. If we are actively engaged in the process, there's kind of stick carrot. The carrot's an additional $5,000 through the state to implement or to help offset some of the costs for source water protection. So they can only do so many water systems a year, and they're excited to work in RICO, so they're going to be coming out tomorrow for an introduction, and then in 2027 they'll be doing some work. So expect we'll probably have some public meetings or have additional things in the regular meetings to discuss those.
So back to the grant request, when do you expect to know the results of the request?
I think in a couple months.
I know that we were time sensitive on that, and we didn't get a lot of information. I'd love to visit that, just to know more about it.
Totally.
More to know more about it. It sounded great, but if we could put that on the agenda.
Yeah.
Upcoming time.
At a high level, we put in for some money for the Civilian Conservation Corps to come out of the Southwest office in Durango to do forest health. They're not wildfire mitigation, that's not something they fund, but forest health in its entirety they do, to do about a 20-acre area around where our water intake is. We can have that next month.
Yeah, a short discussion. I'd like to put my knowledge. Thank you.
And I think that covered, oh, no, sorry, one other thing that we talked about church, right? Okay, so Anna has been in communication. We used to have, for those who remember, chairs over in the corner here on a rolling rack. They're at a women's club. I'm getting a lot of feedback from people who use the church that having the pews can be a little cumbersome and challenging to move them. Anna was in communication with the women's club because they're the owners of the chairs. We've just been housing them for a long time, about the potential of moving the chairs over there and then finding a new home for the pews. So that way when someone goes to use the church space, it's an open floor plan and there'll be a rolling rack of chairs available for them to set it up that way. We just want to make sure that that's the direction everyone wants to go in.
I think that's a great idea.
Any takers on the pews yet?
I think we'll have some takers. I know there's some interest.
There's a lot more than that's in that building. There's more in storage.
We have a bunch of them.
Downstairs.
We plan to keep, just for everyone to be aware, we plan to keep the real historic pews that are on the loft, and the newer kind of heavy chunkier pews. We plan to rehome those, and I think there is interest. I know I myself might be interested, and then there's some other members of the community who have reached out about it as well. So.
Love it.
We plan on keeping 2 of them, at least temporarily, to be on the side of, just along the 2 sides, the east and west side. 2 of the long ones, just in case somebody's having a service or something and want that pew look, they could bring those in for the front, but then fill back with chairs. We'll see if that's too cumbersome, then we'll find new homes for those ones as well.
What about tables?
We can discuss that when we talk about budget.
Okay.
Didn't we have?
We have some blue tables we're thinking about just bringing over there with them. They're really heavy.
Oh, I
What used to
carried
be-
them back and
what
forth for the
used-
puzzle competition.
Okay.
My
Like that
hands
one?
are still.
Like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the plan is to bring some of those over there.
Oh, okay, great. That was my question.
We don't have
And if
a-
they could live there, that would
Yeah,
probably.
we just don't have a plan yet of like buying new white, like everything over there is kind of secondhand.
I
So
think
it's-
moving those into the church, so you're not carrying them back and forth, like moving them around the church is not a big deal, but the back and forth it was really cumbersome and kind of a bummer.
So that's the plan right now.
I think we just wanna make sure that whatever we put in the church isn't just thrown in there, and they all have homes, so when somebody uses the space, it's a clean look and there's a clear expectation on how they have to leave it once they leave, rather than just chairs and,
Just helter-skelter.
Exactly.
100%, I think that should definitely.
so we wanna
be
just
approached.
make sure that what we introduce in there has a home that it always goes back to, rather than blocking off the whole kitchen or whatever.
Or an emergency exit or something. Great.
Is that everything? We're happy to answer questions or field questions about other matters.
Manager? Public comment? No, all right. Thank you, Chauncey.
Of course.
You're gonna keep going with the voluntary cleanup update.
As much as you need. So the packet, the road sampling, what the board requested, that's in process. I think all the samples have been collected and they're going off to the lab now. Turnaround time is probably 2-ish weeks, but not as most labs non-committal exact delivery time of when we'll get the results back. I did just, I believe, first thing this morning, received the access agreement. As a refresher, there was conversation about getting an access agreement from Atlantic Richfield to install straw wattles and some BMP stuff to help with erosion. So that just came in today. It took their attorneys a while to get it over. It needs to go to our attorney, obviously, so that's happening now. It's forwarded off and they need to review it and make sure it's something, Tom Bloomfield, make sure it's something that we want to move forward with. Shouldn't create any issues with road sampling now that we have our own soil management contractor who's been doing that work concurrent to this. So at least we're moving forward and getting a good data set to be able to readdress the conversations on road segments and what should happen in terms of responsibility and remediation scope. Additionally, there is discussion that Mike and crew will come down in October, potentially the week of, well, the 15th would be an open house, October 15th probably, similar to what was done before. I think it was at the Enterprise ones. They just are there, have info boards, answer questions, have access agreements and things like that available to the public. So if they have questions, concerns, comments, just making themselves a little more available. It sounds like, from what I was told, Mike wants to maybe use that time to walk some of the drainage issues we're seeing that are coming up with us in Public Works. So I don't know exactly what that means. It sounded a little more promising to look at it. I know we've seen Tri-Hydro people out on the roads taking pictures of some of the drainage issues in the last few weeks after these big storms. So I assume they're paying a little more attention now than they have been. There are 11 properties that have gone through sampling that are all above the action level, and they are all slated to be remediated starting in the next week or two. The Tri-Hydro will be the contractor, but they'll sub, I think AECom's still out at the mine site, so AECom will come into town and perform the remediation efforts on those 11 properties this year. In addition to that, if the access agreement gets approved by the board, they'll probably also be the ones to deal with the installation of the BMPs around town, and then Tri-Hydro's day-to-day staff here will be the ones responsible for checking the wattles that are silted and making replacements or upgrades as necessary. They also have been working with the owners of the Shamrock and Smuggler mining claims. I know through the VCUP that was always a concern because of the two different zone districts, the EROB and the... Anyways, those ones had a past VCUP, so they weren't necessarily entitled to this program, but the landowners, and I think it's a positive, have been working with them because there's been visible mine waste materials kind of above the riverbank on the west side in some areas. So the intention is to have the crew over here start capturing some of that and hauling it off as well. So not necessarily exactly part of the townwide beat cut, but just another effort for remediation and cleanup in town. And then the folks at Tri-Hydro and Mike are getting a lot of word that there are H2S issues in town. I think a lot of people are noticing that from the work going on at the mine site. There maybe, sounds like they're trying to improve things, but what they really wanted is just for those people who are affected, please let me know. We can consolidate a list of address and contact information, and they're gonna start evaluating why that is. My property was greatly affected, less so now. I know this side is really bad, and in the morning, right along the river is
You
bad.
can smell it on the highway.
It's in the
Smell it out front.
Dave Bolson, just so people are aware, Dave Bolson, I believe from some conversations I had, he has maybe some legal representatives, and he's going to the EPA and the CDPHE to try to push back on them and see if they're in any violation of permitting. So he's working on it from his side since he's in the county. AR would like us to be able to provide additional information on affected properties. So I know some people in this room are affected, happy to do that, but if you talk to anyone else and they're like, oh, I noticed it between these times or whatever it is, just shoot me an email, have them get a hold of me. That way we can give them a more comprehensive understanding.
I can smell that on that, so put me on that list, but
Yeah.
did they elaborate on the significance of telling you that? What, it sounds like it's just something to buy time and get nowhere, like we've seen the whole B Cup along, so they know it stinks, they know what's doing it.
Yeah.
They need to do something to fix it, hopefully, maybe not. I mean, honesty would go a long way.
They didn't elaborate. They said the biggest thing is it was designed for peak flow capacity and it's had really low flow, so they're trying to tweak the system. The low flow is causing the water to be more stagnant and go septic, creating the H2S issue. But they didn't elaborate on why they were curious about specific impacts.
Right. And I don't understand, maybe you could ask them for me, what difference does it make if it's on Main Street or on Commercial Street or on Soda Street or on Mance? I mean, the smell is totally obvious, it reeks. Sometimes more than other, the heat makes things worse. Maybe you drive out of town. I mean, let's hope the sewer plant doesn't get like that.
No, it won't, and that's awful because this is a negative PR nightmare for a wastewater treatment plant which won't smell, so it's like.
I mean, it seems like that things like that, we've heard all this one. I think somebody else said something at the meeting about the discolored road segments. Oh, just start keeping track of them. They're all there, we know they're there. We know there's a problem. What, it just seems like something to buy time.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's a bunch of baloney in my opinion, so, I don't know, I've got zero tolerance for that.
I don't have any answers.
Be honest, and let's get it fixed. Or tell us to get it, I don't know.
So, Chauncey, do we need to sign a list or anything with our, I don't know, our observations, our,
If you wanna get me whatever you can,
Discontent.
spread the word, I'm gonna send an email out
and
saying
obviously
like,
anybody on the north end of town is getting it.
totally.
And I mean, and it's exactly when the wind shifts or the flow shifts from, you know, up canyon flows to down canyon flows. I mean, it's,
Totally.
I look around my floor thinking it's my dog.
I thought it was my drinking septic
I
system.
mean, well, the 3 dogs. I mean, that's just the generalization of the odor.
Yeah.
It's more of a sewer type thing than a garbage type thing, you know?
Totally.
So, but if there is something that we need to sign, something, just so, whatever, just please let us know, and I'll
And
pass the
everyone is
word along.
welcome to reach out to Mike's email address, and there's a Tri-Hydro email address, and voice your concerns independent. But Mike was hopeful that we would have a little more just data for them. I don't know for what reason, Mr. Mayor.
I'd like to go back to the contaminated road situation again. Of the 31 locations, are they all new areas that were identified when Atlantic Bridgefield did their sampling? Or some of these are close to other areas that they've already planned on mitigating? Or give me a better idea
Yeah,
of
so
what the scope is.
the 31, and they actually, last I talked to them, it might have been closer to 36. There are areas in town that have visible contaminated materials on the surface. So some areas could be in existing areas above the action level. It's not a spot and then, 100 feet another one. They did a good job in kind of segmenting town, but they're not taken in the way like the matrix samples were for the B cup. So they walked all of town to get.
So all these samples are not identified now for Atlantic Bridge Filter or remediate. These are new segments of road that weren't in the original map that they provided. Thank you.
And it sounds like they're gonna be able to, I think details are forthcoming, but they're gonna be able to consolidate this data, and then I don't know what the board and how we'll move forward. We'll have, spreadsheets available. We can put it, AR offer to be able to put it into their GIS database, so we can have sample location, depth, and the pins like you see on the town's website. I just don't know if that's information we wanna give out to AR at the onset of renegotiating these sections of road, or that's a card we wanna hold a little closer until we have a better understanding.
Chauncey, I think we're going on, about a year? Still no communications from them.
I have mentioned your property a few times, so.
No communications from them.
Doing this for 7 years with very little significant communication. Again, it's a bunch of blowing smoke and stalling and buying time and getting nowhere,
I was in your seat when we told them to go away.
Is that what you had, Chauncey,
Yeah.
for that? Skip, did you have a comment you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, it's more of a question. The odor, the sulfite gas, this is relatively new. This is the first I've heard of this. And I don't, obviously, apparently in West Rico, we're not experiencing this.
No, we did it all for you. By the time it gets there, we've recycled it.
Appreciate that.
You got it,
Because
bud.
I thought it was you.
You know what, so did everybody else. When they walked north of my house and realized I was not guilty.
Or your dog.
Oh.
And,
This is something
they like to
new,
blame
relatively new.
me. It's honestly where I am, I'm pretty much right down the valley from it. Since wintertime, it's gotten worse, but we first started noticing it a little bit before the snow flew in the fall.
Within 6 months, less than a year.
It's been less than a year, but more than 6
I
months.
think they commissioned the wastewater treatment or the fine water treatment, and so they made that passive water treatment plant up there, and that's the culprit. So before they were piloting different things and had different technology in place, and it wasn't as egregious in how much H2S was leaving those little pilots, but now they have these huge bioreactors and other things, and there's not enough flow, and we toured that in the fall, and they brought them online right around then, and so it's coming up on a year about that plant's been operational, and H2S has been an issue since day one.
We were smelling it when we built Chauncey's house 2 or 3 years ago, here and there.
But it was nothing like what.
That's when they would dredge a pilot pond or do some work that disturbed soil, but then once the system went live, there's just odors and gas leaching up through the different materials they're using.
And it might be different, and the amount of sulfur they're turning around down there, I wouldn't be surprised to have a sulfury smell, but drive out of town. With your window down
Go north.
tomorrow morning,
By the river,
it's bad.
Well, I guess ultimately my concern or question is, did they not know this was gonna happen?
Did they what?
Did they not know this was gonna be an end product of that remediation? And if they did, why are we only hearing about it now? Or rather, why are we smelling it? It's, it seems like you trade one evil for a lesser one or some different one. I'm not opposed to what's going on up there necessarily. The then I'm not having to deal with apparently what a significant portion of the town is either. Is that forever?
I don't know. We can ask questions and
Oh, that's all this is, Pat.
get answers.
I'm not asking for you or this group to answer my questions, I'm just posing questions to Arco.
I understand, and we're trying to get to the bottom of it. Right now, we're just gonna find out where people can absorb the odor, and then they're gonna create a plan based on that, possibly, I don't know.
Enough said.
I appreciate your bringing it to light.
I think getting complaints from a large swath of the town might elevate it as a concern in their eyes versus maybe one property owner that's very close to the site mentioning something, from what I understand.
And feel free to, contact information's on the town website under the lead soil cleanup tab, so if you want to send an email, feel free to, you can CC me on it, I can follow up on those, I can provide the list or exhibit of affected property owners and whatever needs to get done. So.
You know, and I think property owners we're not getting the resolve or answers quickly, then they should ask the EPA to take a look at it and see if it's bad for them or what's going on. I don't know.
Would it be possible to just post something like on the town website or Rico bulletin board saying, is anybody experiencing this? If yes, you know,
Yeah, happy to.
just, I don't know, put something in the commenters, so we can just collect.
Yeah.
And, you know, just because I think Crystal's idea is good, you know, if we need to write letters, we could get it going sooner than later. You know, I think that seems like the most logical approach, to let them know that we actually are not really happy about it.
Yeah, we can get that done tomorrow.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, any more comments, board or otherwise, on the B Cup? Moving on to the 2027 budget discussion. How would you guys like to see this through? Does everybody have individual ideas, requests? You want to go through each account and talk about each one off the work plan? I'm open to whatever you guys think is the most productive.
Maybe we could just go through the work plan, and if your comments on it, as we're going to, like, precipitate some new ideas of other projects.
Thank you.
Right, or not even, it doesn't have to be regarding particular projects. It can be, that's fine, but the different funds, right?
Yeah.
The water fund, sewer fund, street fund, so
Yeah.
if there's an addition that's not on the work plan, please bring it up, and Chauncey will tell us if he has money for it or not. My pen's leaking, I've been playing with it.
It's spreading a little
I got a
bit.
white shirt on.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I'll get over it.
Would you like a different
Not even
pen?
writing anything. No, I'm not even writing anything.
You're gonna get it all black anyway.
We needed to take your fingerprints anyway.
It's even on the tip of your nose.
All right, so let's, I had it all over my face earlier, but it wasn't ink. So I'm no stranger. All right, so let's start with water. We'll go around the table. If anybody would like to speak, start talking, raise your hand, whatever you want.
So for objectives that are already met, so we'll just take those off this list, correct?
Yep.
We leave them on there so we can gloat on our
Let's
accomplishments.
talk about it more. I'm just joking.
Well, I mean, I don't see a need to have the imposition of development fees for subdivisions. If it's already been done, why is it still on the list?
It's just
Well,
one,
this is
it's
just part of the
just
work
one
plan.
objective to meet the goal. So the goal hasn't been met, so the objectives are still within that.
I think the purpose of this item is to discuss the budget for next year. If there's things we would like to see change, maybe, you know, we would like to see that new loader and skid steer, and we want to make that a priority, you know. I personally would like to see some kind of stipend, if it's doable, whatever the board decides with the new town shop and everything else. an annual figure from here till whenever it gets cut off, but whether it's an annual or every 6 months, quarterly, I don't care, whatever you guys see fit, but that can outfit the shop and the boys with the small stuff, not the loader. Obviously, the loader and the skid steer are important to me, and implements for it and such, but tools, proper place to put the tools, you know, we buy nice tools and you gotta keep them in a bucket, maybe we need a toolbox, small hand tools, expendables, drill bits, stupid things like that, but if you knew you had a sum of money that the boys could come and say, hey, we need this, here's my wish list, and you could prioritize and just keep them slowly getting outfitted and safety equipment, personal safety, whatever it might be. So
We started doing a similar program to that last year to start outfitting the shop and carry it. It just comes in our, I think, a supplies line item. So we generally, because we weren't as fortunate with our street fund position last year with the change, this year it's a little different. It was a supply line item, and then as we got through the halfway, third quarter, then we started looking at tools or larger items, smaller purchases, but impact drills and sockets and stuff. And I think it would be better to have a little more money allocated just for the purchase of new supplies and not so much like a repair supply line items.
right, yeah, that's all. Just so it's there and not a burden when we need something, especially if we're renting tools or something, and so we can buy that, or you know, we need to rack the nuts and bolts, whatever it is. You know, we could set a little, guaranteed to have a little money on hand for stuff like that. And then, I mean, I guess I'm combining street and water in all those things. The shop, the personal stuff, like safety equipment or whatever they might need. Implements, you know, something I'm sure you're thinking about for the loader.
Yeah, so in terms of the loader, we'd actually like to get a purchase agreement moving forward in the next couple of months. Deer meeting with our folks at Four Corners. We're looking at what's been discussed right now is a similar loader to what we have. That's a 500 series, so this would actually be a 400 series. It's a 444. So it's a better width. It's a similar wheelbase and size as the old dresser that we have.
The dresser, not the new one.
It would be just like the new one, but it would be the size of the dresser.
Gotcha.
So a 400 series instead of a 500 series. And I think to start, we're looking at a bucket on the front, and then probably to be determined whether or not we do a blade on it. Talking with Public Works, most areas that we're plowing with that, we need to haul snow, we're not just pushing it. Unlike the bigger loader where we're clearing main thoroughfares. But we got a quote back for one of those at $209,356.51. That is from Four Rivers Equipment. Their financing options, I think 0.9 to 0% is kind of the ballpark we're in. John Deere has a program called Sourcewell, which is a municipal program, so it's better rates, kind of below MSRP. It allows us to not have to go out to procurement for these pieces of equipment. So we're looking at probably, depending upon financing, just for the board to be aware, of purchasing this loader and starting the terms once the budget comes into effect on January 1st or thereabouts, with a 4 to 6 year term on it with an outright purchase, not a lease like we did last time. It's way more cost effective to own it. We put low enough hours on it. What I learned in meeting with the John Deere folks, which we weren't aware of this with the other loader we have, is you can have a John Deere piece of equipment under warranty for its whole life. You can just buy another warranty as long as the warranty never sunsets, and they're very cost effective. So we can keep that piece of equipment warranted. John Deere links, so if anything happens, they text, troubleshoot it, and Durango drive right up and repair it, and there's no real cost to us. And so we're looking at 4 to 6 year term on that, depending upon the rates. Probably somewhere in the $30,000 to $40,000 ballpark annually, which the street fund, with the increase in revenues coming in, can easily handle that purchase. So it would be my recommendation that we prioritize purchasing the loader. People are talking about a big winter, who knows, but the dresser, if we have a big winter, probably won't get through the winter. And the lead time is about 1 to 2 weeks to get one of these pieces of
That was
equipment
gonna
to
be
our
my next
town. It
question.
used to be 3 to 6 months. We had this conversation a few years ago. They said order it now and you'll get it at the end of next year. But they said they have, I think Four Rivers is a bigger outfit than Honan, so they have them available and they can get them down to us. So ideally, we would get that in the budget, get the terms all situated and approved at the close of the year, authorizing spending the January 1, and we'd have a new machine in the shop within the first couple weeks of the year. So that would be my recommendation. The other thing we got quoted on is a skid steer. This is something that I think would be a great purchase for the street fund as well. Question is if we want to have financing on 2 pieces of machinery at the same time. I think it's possible. I still need to run some more numbers. But a skid steer, we're looking at one that's just below the threshold for death, new, and it is $82,000, about $83,000. And we would like to do a 6-way dozer blade on the front of that, the bucket, and then potentially down the road, if we need it, spaces start getting tight, we'd look into other things. We like forks for it as well, but look into a high flow blower and things like that. But we figured we can get our foot in the door, get these things purchased, and start paying them down and then getting implements as needed, but making sure that they show up ready to function for what we're going to use them, clearing out hydrants, hauling road base, and areas where we had some high runoff events and there's some rippling of the road surface, much easier to come out with a little skid steer and clean that up than grading the whole windrow and the whole road with the grader. So those are 2 things at a staff level we would like to see move forward in this year's budget or next year's budget, and I think they're both manageable.
And that will all land on the street fund, or it'll be dispersed between water, streets, and
Street fund.
all street?
Yeah, we'd like to get a mini X, we're just, for the water fund, we're just not in the position yet, I think with the water crossing and some other bigger potential projects happening, to purchase one of those, but we're looking into that.
And the skid steer is a track machine or a wheel
Track
machine?
machine, yeah.
Yeah.
So those, for the water fund, I don't really see any large capital purchases. We're still trying to work, I'm still trying to work with the state revolving fund on the design and engineering grant money. It's available one day, not available the other day, not available right now, so that we're kind of on a holding pattern for design and match for that, and we'll just have to, we'll learn more as they know where their position is, but the state revolving fund, you know, specifically in Colorado, our state revolving fund is struggling a little bit with funding.
I mean, I think as far as water goes, I'd like to think we all agreed it's important to carry on what we got, Silver Creek, replacing the water tank, and so on, that we have on the work plan. Is that right with everybody? Is there anything else as far as water goes that,
Nope.
other than that mini X? And how about parts? Are we ever in a predicament? I know we were, it seemed like it worked out pretty quick, the guy at Durango, whatever, but a part of the well that might break, do we need parts on the shelf for,
We keep,
or what?
we keep parts on the shelf. Every year we have the opportunity, we order more. We're getting much better on if we use a part, we order a replacement.
Hydrants, valves, that kind of stuff, we're 1 or 2 ahead, and
Yeah, we don't have any spare full hydrants available, those are pretty expensive, but we have tools to make the repairs and gaskets, seating parts. We have MJs for 6-inch, which is everything in town, like Megalugs, the mechanical joints. We have repair couplings, we have stuff down to 4-inch. So I think we've done a pretty good job of keeping parts on the shelf.
great. So that's it for water. We move on to street, and I feel like we knocked half of that out, but I have some more on that, if anybody else would like to talk.
I mean, honestly, I agree with what we're talking about with the streets. A skid steer, I think, is a piece of equipment that is gonna help throughout the year. You know, when we get like our 2-week monsoon that we just had or whatever, it's just a lot, you know, financially palatable to run a skid steer to fill in little potholes than it is to use the equipment that we have right now. But I think with a skid steer and inevitably, you know, like a blower attachment for fire hydrants, stuff like that, I think we really will get our money's worth out of it. So as far as like all these little subdivisions of our different funds, I think the skid steer and the loader, that's what I came up with more than anything.
know I'm gonna do it anyway, but I'm trying not. I think, and this is gonna be a whole nother conversation, I'm gonna introduce the concept, but, I really think we should try to allocate funds so we can take care of our streets that are not gonna be part of the V Cup that we know are not healthy for our community. We don't have to go the extent that the V Cup is, you know, perhaps if we know there's bad section, instead of taking out a foot, we take out 3 or 4 inches and put back 4 or 5 inches of clean road base. And whatever we gotta do, the repository will take it, we know if it's dumped, I don't know. And while doing that, improve our drainage, doesn't have to be the engineering that ARCO has provided, could be some culverts that, you know, I mean, the boys know how water flows downhill, they can dress things up and do what I'm talking about. And again, we don't have to go into all that now, I'm just trying to plant the seed. If they're not gonna do it, we need to do it. We're not gonna, we can just keep haggling over, try to get them to do it. We just need to do it, be responsible and fix the problem.
So I think that expanding on that is, as we develop the sewer, and as this, if it hopefully gets closer to fruition or whatever, I think that is the way to integrate that kind of plan in there. If we're gonna be tearing stuff up, I think we should try to do it in coordination with that, just for basically cost savings in the long run if it's.
Personally, I
some of
think
that's
it needs
coming out.
to be a little more immediate, like even this year, getting some road segments done, getting stockpiling road base, and if the boys got free time, they can tear up a road, portion of it, put some new, you know, whether it coincides with something that could get doubled down with better drainage, I don't know. But, you know, we wait another 5, 8 years after it's already been 20-some years. There's a lot of children in town, a lot of newborns, they're low to the ground, they play in the road, the dirt, they're breathing the dust, they're bringing it home. We know it's not good. Let's fix the problem. That's all. But, like I said, if
Don't do it before
that's something that you guys think we might be interested in, we could put that on the agenda, and perhaps Chauncey could break down for us what that might look like, or what that might cost, or what, if the board thinks it's worth future discussion. If not, I'll just shut up.
And Mr. Mayor, so just so people, depending upon your familiarity with the budget, annually, I think since before I started for a period of time and through, since I've been in the position, we've allocated $2,500 to road maintenance in the sense of that's for road base. It's pretty insignificant amount of money when it comes to how much material you actually get. It helps chase potholes in areas after they're settling through a winter. I was speaking with Dylan about this a little bit, and ideally we can set aside something more to the tune of $10,000 to $20,000 for road materials annually, so we can, even in areas, whether we go the direction and the board wants to do that, what you're describing, or we just want to get a better road surface. For example, like South Commercial, if you grade that, you're ripping rocks out because there's no road base there. So we were talking kind of at a staff level on if we can get more material and get the dumps in specific areas, how we can mobilize and just start putting new surfacing on top. So I think that aligns with what you're saying. It's something we're hopeful to keep in the budget.
But yeah, it'd be nice if we obviously see visible tailings, that we remove it, try to get it dumped out of the repository or not, take it to the dump, I don't care. But obviously, to make a road better, you can't just put road base on a rocky road. You gotta dig it out a little bit, and like I said, we don't have to call in the engineers and inspectors and rip out a foot and do all these testing and everything else. I'm talking about just making it a little bit better, what we can afford. I would have settled for that in the whole V-Cup thing, but again, another story. Where the water runs off it and the kids aren't breathing vine tailings or eating it, ingesting it, however it may be. Drainage was the other thing, obviously. We're going to stand still with that because of the whole thing. Guess we'd ride that out, but who knows. I feel like with the way the roads are now, with what ARCO's been doing for us with the county, it's been great. It's better. the dust is down, there's a little road base on there, the mag chloride. It hasn't been torrential, as we all know, so we don't see the big drainage issues, but that should be in our priority. Figuring out how we're gonna pay our share of the storm drains, and in fact, we need to do it by what's engineered or whether we can do it Rico style. That's, I think, about all I got for streets. Anybody else?
Yeah, I like the idea, Chauncey, of putting in the budget an amount, like 20 grand or something, to stockpile materials, or at least to be able to get materials loaded and brought in whenever we might need it. So I would like to see that in the budget.
Yeah, usually like the 2,500 gets us about 4 trucks, but we like more.
Well, I'm saying
No, I agree,
20
I'm
or
saying,
20 or 30 grand,
yeah,
just so we've got that, we've got it in the budget, and no
It's there.
questions about whether, how we're gonna pay for it. We got the money.
Water? Or street, rather? On the sewer, I think we took care of that last month. We're pretty up to speed on the progress there. Is there anything more we need to discuss regarding our budget, other than getting the rest of that congressional spending money?
no, you just see it, think there could be a little carryover to that project into 2027, so we'll probably see a line item for CDS grant and engineering expenses.
For which project?
Just the sewer engineering, but I don't expect to, we'll probably we usually traditionally put a line item in for legal, miscellaneous engineering legal, in case stuff comes up or questions come up about code or pursuing different funding opportunities, in case we need technical support on that. So I plan to carry
Put
those.
some money in the budget, maybe buy Little Hannah a nice dinner, bring in some of the crew. All right, we'll talk about that later. All right, sewer, gone. Let's go to parks, because that sounds more fun than municipal documents.
Well, I'm sorry. I'll wait until it comes up.
Bring it up.
Oh, I just thought it was interesting that this project for getting rid of old ordinances is not in the municipal documents or plan.
Kind of part of the muni code thing, but it was gonna wait, and I kept pushing until we started doing it. That's why we wasted our time on it, because I wouldn't shut our spouse.
I would like to propose that it exists in the work plan, and it's something we get to turn green at some point after all of this reading we did. I know that doesn't have much to do with the budget, though.
Well, while we're there, we're gonna stick with municipal documents then, that's what it just is.
Just general fund.
I think is there anything we need to be requested for, aware of, as far as all that goes? You know, the uni code seems like it takes forever.
Yeah, so it's actually funny, because we've been trying to do the Unicode thing, and then that got, it got just a placeholder, because there was a discussion on what makes more sense land use code and getting that adopted, and then putting that all into a codified town code, so that delayed it. We looked into doing it again. It's actually interesting today. I'm on the manager's listserv about Unicode's publishing time being over a year for a lot of communities, and I'm switching to other software purveyors of code codification. So I'd like to still move forward with it. It might not be Unicode as the vendor. Just an aside on that one for the general fund, but there is definitely cost associated with that, because they have attorneys and they do review ordinances that contradict each other or aren't allowed because of recent state statutes or Senate bills or whatever. So we'll review all that and then codify it into a searchable online document, and we can get a little binded code book if people wanted that.
Realistically, does that seem like something that would start next year, that we should have a budget line?
Yeah, we have a line item this year, might not start this year. Generally, it sounds like it's about a 2-year process. So it's providing all of the town code to them. They provide a review back, the board gets that, we have to adopt different ordinances to correct inconsistencies, and then that is then codified into 1, 2, 3 into a code, and then moving forward when ordinances are adopted, if they affect our municipal code, they'll look slightly different in format, because it may amend a section of the code related to dogs versus standalone ordinances for everything. And then our other ordinances like budget will just be standalone ordinances. Still would like to do that. It's a nice service to have. I think it gets the code out to the community. They have questions, it's searchable, more importantly, how the land use code would be structured.
Much less opaque, I think. So does this require you to get quotes from other vendors in order to make our budget line item more accurate?
Yeah,
Or do you
we'll
think-
revise all of that and work. I'm actually trying to find out now who communities are using that have better response times.
Okay.
Sounded like Unicode was the industry leader when we first started this. They got bought by 7+, that caused all these delays and issues, and now a lot of communities are switching to the ICC, International Code Council does it, to a few other vendors, so more to come on that. But I'd like to see that carry through. We're talking about the general fund collectively. We're gonna put a proposal out for the MEANS, but we'd like to maybe do some painting on the church. Might be getting to the point where the windows here, all the wood features on this building need to be painted. It's coming up on 6 years next year. So thinking kind of just general facilities are important for the general fund. Additionally, another item that was discussed at planning, and I think is a worthy thing to discuss, is if we want to have enforcement officer, part-time code compliance person, the new land use code coming online, and concerns from certain people in the community about why have rules if we're not enforcing it when they're not law, marshal-related violations. Do we want to have some money available for a part-time code enforcement officer?
What would you do then?
Well, I don't do too much code enforcement right now, so
I like that. I think we keep it to the extent that we function now, or is it to the extent that we function now, or is it?
The way we function now is,
need relief?
the way we function now is fine for us at a staff level. I just don't know what the community expectations are. If they feel like there's too many small or modest code violations that need to be corrected, I'm not certain. We get complaints when it's something.
Keep that position down the road from now, honestly, I don't know what the rest of it is.
I don't know if we need a position. I think as long as enforcement is occurring when there are complaints,
Yeah.
I think then it makes sense to have a new land use code and go through this whole Unicode or alternative, trying to codify everything. Because we can have all these codes, but if we're not enforcing them, I think people get frustrated that it's a lot of talk and not a lot of.
And I think people don't understand too, and I think it's common for most communities, is like, other communities have a complaint thing, we can just send an email, but, we'll gladly enforce violations in the code if they're brought to our attention, and it's something where there's a black and white violation. Someone's building a new structure and it's not permitted, we obviously engage. It's the smaller stuff that I think people are like, why is this happening? And then we don't hear about it. We hear through the grapevine 4 months later that someone's mad about a fence that maybe or maybe isn't compliant to the code. And so that's just what that was part of the conversation. Do we need the position? Not necessarily. If people are comfortable, if the board's comfortable with the town and isn't hearing anything, then I don't think it's something we should allocate resources to. It's just something that was brought up during planning commission, I thought would be a good thing to propose, or just not even propose, discuss at this meeting.
I think we should just bring it back once we have the code, the revised code, bring it back, as a discussion item. We can like say yes or no. Maybe by that time there'd be new members on this board, and maybe ideas will change. So let's just keep it open.
Okay.
I do want to ask you about the status of hazard mapping. Is that, have they finished yet?
Yes. So I think, is this about debris flow or floodplain? Floodplain?
Well,
Both?
both.
Okay.
Debris flow, floodplain, and avalanche. Because avalanche was one that we talked about years ago.
Yes.
So,
For those who weren't part of these conversations, we have hazard mapping that dictates how development moves forward. Our biggest hazards that affect permitting our floodplain and avalanche. Obviously, we have the wildfire code now, it's a state map. We have debris flows, which affect some things, but not as many, slope stability. But floodplain and avalanche are the two biggest issues for development in terms of restrictions or what you can and can't. The DNR through FEMA is doing new floodplain mapping. They said as a 5 to 6 year process. That started when I first started. I looked at the milestone map, maybe they're a third of the way through it. They're just getting to their H&H modeling on task 3 of 6. So I don't know the timeline on that. We don't have much say until that material comes out and FEMA says to be in the National Flood Insurance Program, we have to adopt it. So more to come on that. We did, through this program, do some debris flow mapping. That, I believe, is finalized and can come in front of the Planning Commission and the board for adoption in the near term or when the new code comes up. Avalanche mapping, there was a potential for funding from the state. That's not an option. So if we do want to do hazard mapping and do a new avalanche study, just there's newer technologies. What really triggered this is we have dated maps by Chris Wilbur, I think is the name, and it's a Sharpie on a map. So is it the inside of the Sharpie, is it the outside? The point size of the Sharpie is the size of a lot, so it's 25 feet, which is substantial. The mapping has always been slightly contested. I believe a developer came to the town and built housing that was maybe in the avalanche map. They did a revised study, which actually showed the high hazard affecting more property. Some property owners were told they couldn't develop. That was incorrect because we had never adopted the map and it never went through like a QA/QC process. It was just a preliminary map that they did for an application, for a hearing to build the cottages. So it left a lot of questions on, wow, the modeling from the same engineer, Wilbur, is very different. And do we need to go and do avalanche mapping? I think there is value in that for, what is it, the New Year and the Sphere are probably the two that would more so affect most things than EMIS. That is something I can start getting some pricing on to see what that type of study would cost.
Well, if we didn't have development and we didn't have development proposals coming in, it wouldn't really be an issue. But because we don't have the mapping done and we don't have good answers for people, it kind of leaves those landowners or those developers in limbo. And it would give some certainty to, this is what you have to do, this is what you have to avoid, gives them clearer guidance as, otherwise we're just kind of shooting from the hip.
Yeah, it's challenging because those two studies can contradict each other. So the one study shows the sphere path, right, the one right, the big slide path, coming down and staying pretty much in the channel and coming across the highway to that commercial vacant lot and then finish touching the cottages. The new mapping that wasn't adopted shows that when it hits Commercial Street, it actually goes outward to the north and south. So the mapping we have adopted places, the new map that wasn't adopted, that was at a preliminary level, places about 6 home sites from a moderate to a high hazard, making them undevelopable if there was new mapping. Currently there isn't, so they're developable at this point, yes. The mapping changed, that could always change, and I'm sure there's other small nuanced things like that if we had revised mapping. Also with the revised mapping, we can get these files as shape files and look at them in a GIS system so we actually know where the lines are, and it's not a Sharpie on a plat map.
So my thoughts on that whole deal is like, I would love to throw that cost into the hands of either existing property owners or developers. I don't really see why the town should volunteer just to pay for this new mapping.
It's always been part of our land use code.
I mean, well, this is where my question arises. Are we responsible for that? I mean, if we are, then but
We have a
do we have to do it right now, or is this, I just remember going through with like Gordon and Rebecca over there, and I know they were spearheading a lot of the, the wetlands mitigation, stuff like that, and I don't know, I thought that they were hiring the people to do that kind of
They had to do it, so for like wetlands, I'm not necessarily saying we should do a whole wetland study for the town. Those cost money too, significant amount of money. And wetlands change approximately every 5 to 7 years. We have some past studies. I think it's pretty easy to work with a potential developer to flag areas of concern and require delineations, which does put it back on the developer. The avalanche side of things is a little trickier because the map we have adopted, someone could build a house and we have knowledge that they could actually be constructed in a high hazard zone, but we've never formally adopted the map, and then we could have a huge winter and the house gets ripped off the hillside.
Right, no, that, I mean, I'm
So-
just asking this question
Totally.
because I have seen the
Yeah,
Sharpie map.
so I
mean,
think
you know.
that avalanche hazard mapping is probably the most important thing that's older. I think wetlands, like you're talking about, some of that, that's, the onus can be back on the developer, because even if we did a wetland study for the entire town, when you go to develop, you're still gonna have to get a site-specific delineation, because it won't, a full town study probably won't have all the upland and wetland plots and all those things in it.
So where would the floodplain then, besides wetlands, you know, I mean, floodplain seems like it's halfway between avalanche and maybe wetlands then?
The state,
Is that gonna be?
the state and FEMA will do all that, and then they'll come to us and say, here is the ordinance to adopt the new map. There'll be no cost to us,
Okay.
it's just a slow process.
No, but FEMA will not do a revised avalanche plan though?
No, those are all, those
Okay,
ones
that's
are-
why, that's a gray area for me.
Totally.
The
It's like,
problem,
why-
Benny, I see is that, it's, an attorney one time told me that when I worked for the Forest Service, you know that there's a hazard out there, but if you put a sign up saying, watch out, here's a hazard, and then 20 feet down the trail, there's another hazard and you don't sign it, you leave yourself vulnerable. We've already, since we have the map and we have addressed avalanche in the land use code, we are already taking on that responsibility.
Then that answers my question. You know, I just wanted to know where the delineation was between, say, you know, here it is, avalanche seems more in our wheelhouse, then there's,
Right.
you know, 100-year floods,
Right.
and then there's wetlands that seem, you know, but if
I
FEMA's
see
gonna.
debris flows and avalanche paths as being very similar as to what the town knows and what we should tell the public and prohibit construction within if it's significant enough. Personally, I would like to see our avalanche paths, and hopefully we're gonna get the debris flow information codified and finalized, but the avalanche, I think, is fairly significant, and there's some property owners that are kind of waiting for the study to be completed.
Oh, I
so they
know, but things are
what they
changing.
can and can't do.
I mean, you look at New Year's, I mean, the size of the coniferous trees in that slide path since the last time it slid. And I remember the last time it slid, and it went all the way to, you know, basically the Enterprise Mine, that road, and almost made it down to the highway. And but now you're looking at 10-foot evergreen trees in that slide path. So, I mean, I know it's a very dynamic study, per se, but I was just wondering how, more than anything, you look at my.
It can't predict frequency, but it can
No.
say, with this magnitude of an avalanche event.
And the vegetation that has, you know, what is permanent vegetation, but the fact that FEMA takes on responsibility for, say, you know, floodplain stuff more than they are for, say, avalanche path stuff, my mindset is developers pay for as much as they can, the town pays for as least as we can, and staying out of liability. That's the
Yeah,
gist of my question, is
I
basically
think
what I'm saying.
with avalanche, it's probably gonna, since the state's not gonna come forward with grants to do it, it's gonna be up to us. And I'd like to see it prioritized in our budget to get it done.
Yeah.
That's just my.
If we're gonna be on the hook for it, then I think it's pertinent.
I think perhaps going out and understanding what the cost of something like that would be this year or next year might be helpful with us to determine whether that's a priority for next year's budget or something that we want to put into like a 3-year or a 5-year plan. I think it's really important. I'd like to see it updated. There obviously is a lot more new technology and would probably be a lot more accurate. And especially with the way that things are getting more extreme, whether drought or a lot of snow, whether you like it or not, it could become more important. Like those outstanding events just might be something we see sooner than later, so. But to talk about it and not know whether it's gonna be $5,000 or $50,000, it's really
Right.
difficult for me to make that call.
And my other question is too, is just for whoever's gonna do these studies, who inevitably is liable for, you know, the quality of the studies, the science behind it, you know, I mean,
That's
if
what
it's
professional certifications are for.
I mean, I understand that, but I mean, like, this is going back to your cost, you know, to put your name on the line for that seems
I
like,
don't think it's like an engineer who's gonna sign off and say,
well, that's why I'm wondering, like,
I'm
FEMA is a
sure
government
probably is.
organization, so FEMA
Yeah.
can say, all right, this is what we're saying, but what is gonna determine for us as a municipality, the people we hire, that's gonna alleviate us from our liability if the wrong decision is made or the wrong mapping is made.
Legal
Does
disclaimer.
that make sense?
That's why we have
So-
lawyers.
So wait a second,
Contracts.
when you do something like that, it's just like the wetlands. You make a avalanche map. You say this area is where we believe there's things. It's not an absolute. Now you going to build there, you have to get your own study and say this is exactly where it is for my property.
Right.
So this is just-
Homeowners
so this is
insurance
just-
ultimately will
This
insure
is
you
just
or-
a recommendation to drive people to go there.
Right.
So right now, the avalanche area that we have some areas that you can say, hey, it's high risk, you can't build in. If they want to get their own private study and say it is not at high risk, they're out, they can build in it. It's just a recommendation to say, hey, go look at it. Kind of like the wetlands mapping in town. It's just, hey, there may be wetlands here. There may not be.
Right.
You need to go get your consultant to look it up. And it is an engineer that does the avalanche studies.
Fair enough.
but there won't be, like, what I was saying is that whoever does the avalanche study is not gonna sign and say, I guarantee that this line is exactly where the avalanche.
No, I understand that. I just wondered where, you know, because it's more important for the town to worry about avalanches than it is the floodplains and it is the wetlands. I was just, you know, I'm just throwing things to be cautious of.
I see a difference.
I do, I mean, I do too. I'm
Yeah.
just asking for clarification,
Yeah.
being the devil's advocate, that's all. All right.
The other thing we'd like, we're just talking about professional services right now, which this is not a PE professional service, but we would like to bring in a consultant for our master plan efforts. I know that's been discussed in these meetings, in the planning commission meetings, not in this year's budget, but it is something that I think there would be value in if our budget can allow for that this upcoming.
Did you find my guy from CML yet?
I got
You
him.
talked to him?
I haven't talked to him.
Get a number.
I'm gonna get another.
I already
that-
recommended that, so.
That's just one other thing that, in terms of professional service, we'd like to, I just wanna use this conversation as a baseline to start building numbers so that I can work back on a budget for next month.
I think that'd be a good
I
idea.
think it's a great idea. I think it's,
Agreed.
I mean, it's on here, so.
Yeah. And it's a work thing, I know.
And I would have never imagined that the municipal documents, I would have taken this long, but
It's exciting.
I was wrong, I was going for the parks,
This is the good stuff.
rink.
This is the nuts and bolts that keeps the town going,
But
right?
I do agree
Parks are exhausting.
with you, there's the avalanche stuff's super important, it affects people's property values. Either the property's worthless or it's not, I mean, we need some decisive, definitive answer. We tell them it's worthless today, and then tomorrow, after they sold it for $3, find out it's worth 300. You know, it's obviously a problem, so, whoever pays for it, everything's better if somebody else pays for it. I mean, if you can figure that out, please do. Are we good with municipal documents? Yep.
I'm sorry.
All right, parks?
Sure.
Anybody?
I think it's good.
I like it.
And I think, again, I don't know if you have figures. I know you spoke about it earlier, but and I'm gonna combine the church and the mansion with parks and open space. as well as my comments for staff. I know we have a new staff member there. There's a request of mower blades, and a weed whacker, leaf blower, that kind of thing. If we have some kind of money where that can just be covered with no nonsense as it comes up. The grooming, all that kind of stuff. I know we're in pretty good shape with our little buggy for that and stuff, but, and then of course the ice rink, what we learned last year. Is there anything maybe we need to upgrade or
We got money to.
budget-wise?
We have money from the county to buy some hockey nets and a couple other little things, so good for the ice surface this year. We wanna look into doing some, sun cloths to help
I think that
limit
would be,
sun
Yeah, that was one thing I
exposure.
was gonna think of, was the sun class for that.
So that was one thing, some of these things too, I don't know if they align more so with local grant opportunities. We wanna pursue funding from the RICO Center for that type of stuff. Just something, I know that's in October, so that'll be in conversation for next month's board meeting, but just a placeholder for people to think of. But for the park, the big things we see are refining kind of the winter ice surface. We think summer's pretty situated. The one other thing, we'll probably pursue the county for. It seems like pickleball's really popular down there. They make way nicer portable nets than what someone was so gracious to set out, which are heavier steel on casters. So we'd actually like, they're a couple $1,000, but we'd actually like to get one of those and paint lines. And so then when someone wants to play pickleball, they can just wheel the net into place. And then if there's an event or whatnot, it can just be brought to the side. I think that would be a nice thing. That space is getting utilized a bunch for that.
My experience with pickleball, and I've played before, is that the net's like the one that is down there now that was loaned to the pavilion, or whatever the status is, that they work really well. They're easy to set up, they set up really fast, and they're relatively inexpensive. So maybe if that one is gonna go away, buy a replacement for it rather than a wheeled thing that's gonna be more difficult to store, it's more complicated than we would need.
We were just thinking wheels because those ones, when you pick up one side, the other side falls apart. So then we're just disassembling it and stashing it. But I haven't put it back together, so I don't know. I've disassembled it quite a few times. But we could go that route too, it doesn't matter. It seems like pickleball's being utilized, so it's something that we should include in that space with some striping and kind of refinement in town providing amenities. It does seem like a big draw down there, so we want to make sure whether we go that route or a different route, we have some money available for those type of little, those are just little
Yeah, I
projects.
think it's great.
Yeah, permanent lines would be nice.
Do you project the volleyball needing sand for 27? Is that something?
Volleyball should be good. We have a whole new net system that we plan to install in the next month or so. So volleyball should be covered.
Yeah, and what we got in the work plan and benches and stuff like that down at the skate rink. I know.
We have a couple. We have another bench we're going to install on the picnic table at the start of this year that will get out there. So I think we're looking okay on like larger capital items for the park fund. I think it's probably a good time to just look at it. And oh yeah, thank you. There was discussion about a fire ring. I know it's a hard conversation to have because we have been in drought, but if we want to invest in something between like the pavilion and the skate park, there's conversation, do we do a propane fire ring? Do we put something out there for winter time for warming? That would be one other thing for capital.
I think the wintertime fire ring would be wonderful. Place for people to burn their Christmas trees and stay warm by the ice rink.
Can it be just a wintertime fire ring?
Yeah, we can do that too, for sure.
Shut it and lock it.
Yeah, we can figure that all out, so we can start getting some ideas on project costs for that type of stuff. It does seem like we need a communal warming space for the ice rink.
Yeah, I remember the one in Uri had like a really small, like weird shed things, but an outdoor fire seems like a much more usable space.
I mean, I'm not opposed to bonfires in the winter either. The ice rink is what it's all about. Oh, it's not on the ice,
Yes.
but, all right. That's about all I can think of for parks. And open space, oh, the church and the man, so I know we've talked about that, but, we want to make sure we're, like you said, we're kind of secondhand outfitting everything, the real maintenance, paint, all that stuff.
Yeah, so I'd like to put a proposal out to get the man's painted. Hopefully, we'll get something back by September to make a selection, so in October, or after that board meeting, someone can take care of the manse for repainting it, scraping and painting, and doing any, if there's cat work that needs to be done. We'd like to put some money in for some church. They're just the kind of the lower level, in other areas, more of a spot thing. At some point, we're gonna have to, and I don't know, I don't think next year might be the year, but we're gonna have to figure out all the concrete steps and the ramp and the railings and all those things getting in the building. And then additionally, more near term next year, we wanna get the egress out of the kitchen space rebuilt. So painting and rebuilding that are kind of the two priorities in my mind for what we'll budget for the church for this upcoming year. Open to other ideas. If the space seems like it's functioning well, Ian and I went back and forth on the chairs because they're mixed matched in metal. Do we want this? It's like, we're not renting the space for cost right now. If someone's getting it and wants to do a wedding and they want white vinyl chairs, they can bring chairs in from a vendor. So we don't feel like we need to go all out and get a PA system and all this for that space just yet. We just want to continue to monitor how it's being used. But we do want to make sure that the asset itself is being preserved and those upkeep items are being done in the next year.
I know when we were talking tables, you said we would talk about that in the budget, but, so I'm just.
Yeah, and we
We're
can
covering
get some
those
stuff,
kind of things.
we can get, whether it's tables that are needed or these little things, we can start getting numbers for them, but ideally, we're still kind of checking off some of the bigger, more structural, well, not structural, but preservation efforts than refinement of amenities within the space.
Do we want to have a small budget item, kind of like your kind of procurement slush fund for tools and things like that, but for the church? So if something does come up during the next year, and you're like, oh, it'd be really awesome if we had a coffee maker or whatever that it seems like it needs, then we have a little bit of money set aside. It doesn't have to be extravagant.
I like the idea of that with everything, just so it's not a problem. I mean, I like crying broke all the time because we save money, but just because we set it aside for things doesn't mean we have to spend it. So as long as we go do it with that understanding and say, whatever, here's $1,000, you need a coffee maker or some new dish, whatever, I don't know.
But if we don't need anything, then maybe the next year we
The money
spend more
rolls
money
over.
on tables or something like that. But
Yeah,
I think there should be a little bit of, just because we're seeing the use increase and it's been hard to put our finger on what the use will be and what people are really going to be attracted to, so.
yeah.
I just want to be able to be a little bit flexible and be able to adapt to those needs.
And the other thing I know I mentioned, at least to you before, or me or not, but I think we should consider a Starlink setup, whether it's for those two buildings, if it can actually be picked up between the two of them, or be a redundant internet source for you here, given the way our internet's been acting, it might, whatever you guys, something you guys are thinking about.
Yeah, I was thinking whether we use Starlink there or Starlink at the Public Works building.
Or both.
But that's definitely, those are things we want to have for all
Seems like-
sorts of purposes, whether it's firefighters' actives going off or someone needs to put a message out in an emergency and we can keep working. I have Starlink so I can have access to the internet when we have outages, but we plan to acquire.
I mean, it's at the church, it seems like, or even if we have our engineers come and stay at the manse and there's no internet, I mean, I wouldn't mind, but they might think it's kind of a bummer, or activities that are going on in the church that might screen something or use internet.
You might be able to put it in the church and then have the routers for like a mesh system. They sell the Starlink ones and you could probably put like 2 in here and then 1 in the church. Yeah, we have one of those extenders in the house, but they're not terribly expensive and they're very user friendly. You don't have to be like an IT professional to set up a mesh.
Something, and then too, with the internet's out and people are dying because of it, they can come up to the corner and get online, make a phone call even.
Yeah.
So
Call 911.
seems like a big thing, people are very relying on it. I mean, I don't know if people are gonna be up there working in their cars and stuff, but all of a sudden you got no cell phone, no emails, and you feel very lost in that.
Free?
You know, it's like the battery bank, you know? I
Unburdened.
know what you're
Yeah,
getting
that's a
into.
better word, unburdened.
Can't call you.
That's what I got for Parks Rec, Church, Mance.
And I just want to say, those pews are really, really heavy, and my recommendation is to get rid of them all. So you don't have, people don't have to be moving them, trying to move them around. So I don't know who came up with the recommendation of keeping 2 of them or 4 of them, but I think they're just gonna take up space. That's usable and.
We were, at a staff level, we were worried about some fallout from some of the old timers in the community.
Yeah.
I think
that's
we
always
could leave a couple
That's
in.
always gonna happen.
That's why we were treading lightly. If the board's direction is to get rid of all of them, we'll gladly do that.
I'm just throwing out an idea, I'm not giving any direction.
Okay.
I think I've moved those more than anyone in a century, and they are very heavy, but whatever you all decide is what we can do.
Figured this was a good starting point, and then
Yep.
maybe in another year from now, the rest will find
There you
different
go.
ones.
Perfect.
We're trying to tread lightly in some instances.
And Dee made that poster for the old timers for, to get together. And they went back and forth a lot about what to call that facility. Do they call it the community church? They call it the church? They call it the community center? I think at some point we need to come up with a name for it. And
It's the historic Rico Church.
Yeah, it's the community church, because it was, non-denominational at some parts through its history. So that's what we could refer to it as, but we can figure that out.
I mean, I think looking at it,
But it's no longer a church.
it is, we'll go look at it.
It's a building
It's a building,
with a steeple.
it's a church.
Has a
You
cross
don't have
inside.
to go in there and worship. I'm not getting no churchy on you, I'm not like that, but I think the church is a significant symbol in all small western mountain towns, and there's no denying that it's a church when you look at it. We don't have to go there and worship, it's the
Okay.
historic church building, AKA the new community center.
I think it's like Placerville, it's the historic schoolhouse. Is
The schoolhouse, right.
It's still the schoolhouse.
They used to learn in there, we can't call it a school anymore.
Historic church building is, yes,
A mouthful.
a lot of words, but,
I think people know.
yeah.
You can cut down the church,
People know.
people know what they're saying.
Some signage might be nice. Some informative signage. There were some folks peering in the window the other day while I was going by, and
But you can rent this space.
I gave them some information, like,
Yeah,
oh,
we
like,
can
you're
do
the
that.
asking questions.
Laminate
Put a sign up
for
for
each-
church.
Do that, that's not hard.
Well, it's just like owned by the town of Rico, community center available for public use, like go
Yeah.
here. And I said, oh, you should, if you are interested in using the church, or if you have any questions, our town hall is right down here and our clerk can help you. And they said, oh, that beautiful brick building's still the town hall?
The
Yes,
courthouse,
yes,
it says
is."
courthouse. Maybe we should change that to,
I just give Chauncey's cell phone.
we can grind courthouse off with a
I
stone.
didn't do that. I don't think I ever let the truck stop rolling during
There's a
this
QR
energy.
code that goes directly to his computer.
I think some updated signage
We
might be
could do,
nice.
we could do that
Yeah.
near term, discretionary stuff.
All right, we still got a long way to go.
Come on now, let's get.
Is there anything else that we could spend money on, Chauncey, that we're missing, or anybody can think of?
I think that covers it. We're gonna start, I need to start doing a little more review just in terms of staffing and needs. What it's gonna look like, whether it's Dennis on call plowing, I did hear there could be potential to bring on a previous person who worked for Public Works who may be looking for an opportunity again. So just to be determined on that as we progress, but either way, we'll have coverage this year, because although Dennis will be retiring, he can be on call for plowing. You work 100 days out of the calendar year as you're collecting your pension through PARA, so we have that covered, but there may be some slight swings in staffing allocation.
Yeah, all right, let's do that. What were we last year, one number? Are you talking, or did I just miss all that?
I don't know.
Staff considerations.
Oh, we just talked, I was talking more so if we have the funds funding available, or the money's available to be able to have another full-time public works
Oh,
person.
gotcha.
It does seem like generally in the state of Colorado, at municipalities, they always are looking at, and just for staffing consideration, that stuff, cost of living increase or merit-based increases. I don't know where we're at in our budget to consider those. I think cost of living is about 2.5 to 3% for mountain communities in the state. That's one thing. And then the other thing was if we can bring on another full-time public works person, if that's possible, we can cover that with benefits like we have been carrying this year. I am inclined to look into that a little bit more.
Full-time rather than part-time.
Full-time.
We got the workload
I think we have the workload.
and the money.
I'm not certain.
Well,
We'll always have the workload because we should really always have someone here. So, every day of the week, someone should be here, not, oh, I'm on call, or, oh, Dylan's doing this, I'm getting groceries, and then we have a water main leak and there's no one here to isolate a valve. So I think there's a need to have a little more coverage than we've had.
if it's consistent, I think, of course.
But we'll see as that kind of flushes out over the next few weeks. At a minimum, we'll have our full-time person and an on-call person.
We start working 12 hours a day and paying them for 8, and everything get handled. We wouldn't spend any more money.
Salary.
That's what they call that.
So I don't know where I saw it, I didn't see it. Again, but the staff considerations, I know I read it earlier in your memo or something, right? That's something we need to discuss with the budget?
Yeah, we
Or is
can.
that coming out of this year's budget?
Well,
Or the end of the year, depends when we do it.
we'll do that end of year for this
So
year's
it'd be the
budget.
27 budget.
But for the 27 budget, we haven't talked about staffing, if we want to see any cost of living increases,
Yeah.
anything like that in this year's budget,
Um,
if that's something that the board
I
is
think
agreeable to.
cost of living increases are standard, and merit-based increases could be standard, and holiday bonuses and stuff are pretty standard, so,
Yeah.
I mean,
We'll have some options in the budget for you all to look at, but we usually just get our cost of living number based upon what is published by the state for this area and base it on that. We have the last few years.
and triple it, because it's going up, if you haven't noticed. I know I've noticed.
I know, I've noticed. I think that's everything for the budget then.
Okay, great. So, we're on to ordinances, is that right?
Meeting frequency and start time.
I thought we were done with that.
Well,
Keep it the same, no more meetings.
we asked them to propose something, I did. And what you wrote was fine with me if we, either way. I mean, I know at the end of the discussion, everybody said they were kind of fine with the way things were. I like the 7 o'clock. If we think we wanted to try, when we do special meetings, we are going through each other's schedule and trying to figure out if we wanted to say, we're gonna try to make it the first Wednesday of every month, but there's additional business special meetings, we're gonna shoot for that Wednesday, so everybody can kind of keep their calendar clear that day, or we just keep shooting from the hip and whenever everybody can make it. Some things are time sensitive that we bring up and might need done before that first thing anyway, so. I mean, I could say no more discussion as far as I'm concerned, and we leave things the way it is for now. Or,
I'm fine with
I'm
that.
fine with that.
move on.
Okay, done.
Ordinance review. So, we got 13, I believe, new ones, same business we've been doing. We'll get through it quick. I don't know if we want to.
I read through them all, and I think that the idea of getting rid of all of them makes sense, but it's.
Clean house.
Yeah. I think you
Wait.
put them all.
Like 116's concealed weapons, we're gonna get rid of that one? So we can just carry concealed weapons around now all the time?
No, you can already, it reverts to state law. This is an
No, I
18.
know, but I'm just saying, like.
How are you gonna enforce it anyway? That's the problem.
Any, things like that are already conflicting with state law. Obviously, if you have a concealed carry permit, you can carry a concealed weapon.
That's not actually true. You get that at the state level, but you cannot carry one in the city and county of Denver because they have an ordinance like this.
If they have a different ordinance, well,
No, so our ordinance here would supersede the state. It would say, you can have that, but you can't carry it in the town of Rico, period. So why would we get rid of that?
Are you against concealed carry, but permanent concealed carry? Someone
Just
second
asking a
amendment?
question, like this is.
I'm not.
I didn't realize, Greg, I appreciate you bringing that up, but I didn't realize that municipalities in Colorado could override state law.
Yeah, you can't carry a concealed weapon in city and county of Denver, period.
The only thing we can't do is have more stringent penalties.
Correct.
So we can't say if you do that in Rico, it's 2 years jail time, when in the state it's 30 days.
Correct.
We're in trouble there, but our law, especially being a home rule charter, gives us even more discretion to refine our town codes, and things like Greg said.
And then like 117, resistance of an officer of the town of Rico. So I mean, I guess we just get rid of that, so marshal pulls me over, I just punch him and walk away.
No, that's already a law, there's no, and we can fine somebody $2 for doing it.
I'm just saying, like,
But yeah, no, I think the part of this whole thing is the redundancies, the conflicts
if we're getting,
with other modern law.
so we're just gonna get rid of these and let the other laws carry? Or we're gonna come back in and codify things in the future?
Correct.
Yeah, and this wasn't necessarily a list being proposed for wholesale repeal. That's, kind of, we were able to work through a lot of those in the last 2 months. But just ones that I know, some of them could be more contentious, could get reviewed or amended, some probably, like model traffic code. We have an old model traffic code, we just need to repeal and replace that with the most recent model traffic code at a staff level. We're aware of that. That would be a great opportunity to also do parking restrictions for winter. We could do that all in one foul swoop, if that's the direction we're. We have an ordinance that allows temporary service on the sidewalks. Well, guess what, we don't actually, that's a tricky one because CDOT owns the sidewalk. So should we actually have done that during COVID? Not certain. We have waste disposal of wildlife, that's bear-proof trash bins, but there's been changes, more contemporary things that people allow or don't allow. So I don't know if that's one that should be looked at more in depth. So we just started flagging things. Engine retardants, we can't enforce that because we don't have a clause in ours that says they can use them in emergency purposes. So CDOT won't put up engine brake signs on the edges of town because their requirements to notice that in a community say that it's supposed to say engine retardants or engine brakes prohibited unless emergency. And so there's some discrepancies between what we have. Some maybe it should just be repealed. I don't know, but I think for you all, whatever you think in terms of, ideally, we're just flagging ones to have more in-depth conversations as time allows, is what I was hopeful for, but happy to go any way the board feels it would be best for this one.
Like the other ones, the animals at large.
I think that's a fine ordinance. Animals and poultry,
No pigs just running amok.
swine.
Okay, well, the other one says no pigs allowed in town limits, so.
Right.
You know,
And then in another paragraph, it says that it must be,
cap in the yard.
yeah.
So
So, I mean, there's, in itself.
I mean, if we're gonna come back and try to set ordinances like this, it's just, to me, there's a few, why would you change it?
I think maybe modernizing them would be
Yeah.
better than completely.
And we can amend it, we can make notes that we want to, get rid of it and go back and make something along the lines, I don't know. The reason I started this whole thing is because we keep making new laws, and we have all these old laws that a lot of them are conflicting, irrelevant, and we don't enforce. And I said, I swore, I said, I'm mayor, I'm not gonna make a new law without
Well,
getting rid of an old one, so,
I
and here I am, so, if I was wrong, I would be the first one.
I agree with
to own
the
it.
action, what we're doing, I'm just not sure which ones are. Do you keep this one, do you get rid of this one, or do we just get rid of them all and try to make new,
Yeah,
a new
I mean,
set
some of
sometime in
them,
the
you
future?
just maybe change it from a $2 something to a $200 something, I don't know. I
Well,
mean,
at least can we go through and ones that we want to flag to say, the concealed weapons or carrying weapons, we want to relook at that because of,
I say we pick 6 or 7
Okay.
that we're gonna deal with next month, I don't want to do all 13 at once.
well, I would say
Everybody pick
some of, for next month, we could say, is everybody, this one obviously needs to go. It's not even applicable anymore.
Each one of us go around, pick one, each one a different one, that we would like to see brought up for first reading for repeal. How's that?
Right now, or should we do this on our?
Right now. So, who goes first?
I can fix them for you.
So you-
I think the sidewalk seating probably needs to go. It's not our jurisdiction and it's no longer COVID.
I'll pick 113, town warrants and payments are the same.
And I was,
We don't write,
Speak up,
we
come
don't
on,
write
come on.
IOUs on paper at 8% interest rate.
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
I think we should revise ordinance number 219,
A revision or repeal?
revision.
Okay, well then don't pick that one, we're talking about repealing right now. The ones that lie, I think, because all of a sudden if we're gonna revise it, then we've gotta draft a
Right.
draft ordinance and then it's gonna
Yep.
throw a monkey wrench and everything, so.
The lease, is that one relevant anymore? We just got.
Not relevant.
Okay. Sorry, I just took someone's
1999-5
choice.
should get repealed.
Okay, so we got that one.
219 was on here twice, so.
It was in the
Just got
packet
printed
twice, yeah. I think, I thought mine just maybe stuck together in the printer, but I guess it happened. That's a good one.
Yeah, did we do that one yet?
Nope.
Well, that can go then.
Tom will take 1999-5. And we are 1, 2, 3. Ferris, did you get one yet? Not yet?
What's that?
One that for repeal?
I'd say 277.
You want it gone?
Yeah,
You're okay with nuisances?
yeah.
I think we should
We
revise
have other
except for
ordinances for
seven.
that already.
We have other,
Nuisance ordinance, newer ones.
okay.
We got 4.
Are there any others that we have a more modern replacement for already that we don't?
332 easily can just amend that ordinance to update verbiage about engine retardants.
That sounds like a quick and easy one to add to this repeal list to
Super.
do an amendment.
332? Is that what you-
We got 5. One more, we're doing 6
But
because
of
there's only
that-
6 of us.
Of that 5, one of them is nuisance, and we've had some contentious.
You already have 99.5?
About that, so.
Tom,
99.5,
99.5.
that's one I'm on.
Yeah.
The other one, we won't have it ready for next month, but the following month will probably be model traffic code.
2002-3.
Yeah, I mean, that's even like when we write tickets and what we're citing, the marshals are used to living in the current traffic code.
I don't wanna get rid of it. That's
No,
Tom's.
there's one that's not on this list that is regarding open fires,
Projectile, rockets.
no, having an open fire and it's from like 1990 or something like that. And
Okay,
I know it shows up in the title reports constantly, and it was just for that one year, that one summer, and that is one that, well, personally, I would love to see.
Until we passed the current fire ban ordinance, there was,
It was specific to that one summer, that you couldn't have open burns. in
I mean, there's one of those for,
we might have repealed that with the most recent fire ban.
Oh, okay,
ordinances.
so I just haven't noticed that it was gone
I
yet.
don't know if we repealed anything when we made the new ordinance. We did
That's
not go
one
back
thing
and
we
repeal all the old fire ordinances, fire ban ones, I don't think, unless we included it in that ordinance.
We repealed them by reference, I think there were 4 within the, maybe the whereas or somewhere in the statement that.
There's another one in there that's part of the elections for the November 21st, 2022 election, just for that election. When we changed the land use code, we had to make another ordinance to cover us for that, an ordinance that covered us for that election date. So we can coordinate, and then we change, part of the ballot question was to change into the, what we do now, coordinated county election, changing into, from our home rule charter to municipal election code, et cetera. So there's another one like that that we can.
I didn't mean to derail it, I just wanted to bring up that one point.
So we have 5 repeals, 1 that's an amendment for the engine retardants. That's a pretty solid list,
There you go, I
6?
think that makes sense.
right? Or it's 4 and 5, but, or 4 and 1 to make.
Was the,
I think 6 is better.
was the nuisance a repeal or is that amend?
Repeal.
I believe you said repeal because we have
Repeal.
more modern nuisance
Yeah, I think
ordinances
there's a-
already in place that we can. default to by
Right.
getting rid of
So
this
just
one.
repeal that one.
If you read it, it kind of,
Are there any others like that where we have a more modern version and this is kind of like an overlap at this point?
Not that I know of, but there could be some instances.
nothing in the land use code about livestock, chickens,
Nothing in the land use.
animals at large.
That's all ordinance driven.
Is that one we could modernize
Animals?
and do an amendment rather than a repeal? Okay.
What?
So modernize the animals.
I think the animal is pretty good, it hardly take anything to just keep with it.
Well, are the penalties very, small?
I don't think they need to be for that, I mean, chicken gets in the roadway, it's a $2 fine, right? I mean, come on.
Pay your
It's only a
$2
$3
and
chicken.
Get your chicken. They eat a lot of food, it's expensive.
Yeah.
I think that's a great starting spot for us.
Yep, perfect, done. Somebody gonna adjourn?
I would move to adjourn this meeting.
I'll second.
Right on.
All in favor, unanimous.
Right.
I wanna talk about ordinances more.
I
Get the
helped
book up here, Anna.
some chicken processing today, so it's fresh on the mind.